Amitabha. Good morning, everyone. Before we start the talk, please join palms and recite together. The unsurpassed, profound, and sublime Dharma is difficult to encounter even in a billion aeons. Today, we see, hear, receive, and uphold it, vowing to fathom the true meaning of the Tathagata. Okay. So today we continue the Śrīmālā Sutra, and we finished the first part, the causal practice of one vehicle, and we explained how Śrīmālā praised the infinite merits of the Tathagata, and also she make the vow, the 10 great upholding vows, and the 3 great aspirations, and the most importantly, the key practice is embrace the true Dharma, the true reality. And then the next, we will talk about the big topic is the ultimate virtues of one vehicle. And the one vehicle is the core teaching of this whole sutra. So today's topic is very important, and the Śrīmālā Sutra point out some of the ideas and views that are very important for Mahayana tradition or Ikayana traditions. And although some of the topics are still debating, okay, between the Theravada tradition and Mahayana traditions, but the concept that I'm going to share with you are most frequently recited when people talk about the Mahayana. So the one vehicle is very important. And so last time we conclude the first sections of the one vehicle is that we need to believe, to learn, to practice, and to realize. That's how we practice. But for this sutra, what we believe, what we learn, what we practice, and what we realize are pointed to the one vehicle. So today's I'm going to divide it, the talk with 3 topics. First is the scope and content of the one vehicle. And the second part is the ultimate nirvana. What is ultimate nirvana and who attend the ultimate nirvana? And the third one is more debatable by the other traditions, is the Śrīmālā Sutra mentioned that the 2 vehicles are not ultimate. And there are 2 main parts. First is the full wisdom of the 2 vehicles still has remainder. And also the 2 vehicles still have binding klesha in ignorance. So these 2 points, perspectives are very important for us to understand. Okay, so the first part, these sections, the Queen Śrīmālā told the Lord after the Queen Śrīmālā was appointed by the Buddha to talk about the true Dharma or the one vehicle, and the Queen Śrīmālā say that, Lord, what is called the embrace of the true Dharma is indeed a term for the Mahayana, the one vehicle. Why is that? Because all the vehicles of the Sravaka and the Pratyeka Buddha and all the mundane and supermundane virtues are issued from the Mahayana, the one vehicle. So this, the Queen Śrīmālā trying to point out that the Mahayana, the one vehicle, issues and nurtures the two vehicles and all virtues. And there are two analogies that try to explain this idea. It says that just like the 4 rivers or 8 rivers issued from Lake Anavatapta, the big lake in India, all the Sravaka vehicle, the Pratyeka Buddha vehicle, the mountain virtues and the super mountain virtues are all issued from the Mahayana. So in other words, the Mahayana, the one vehicle, is the origin, is the original resources that, issued out many streams or many rivers out of it. And the original resource, the original foundations is the Mahayana, the one vehicle. And the other analogy is like this. Just like all kinds of seeds relied on the great earth to sprout and grow, all vehicles of disciples and of the self-enlightened and mundane and super mundane virtues are also relied on the Mahayana to sprout and grow. And this analogy tells a very important reality, is that oftentimes we talk about in the Lotus Sutra, we talk about 3 vehicles, and then we conclude 3 vehicles to 1 vehicles. And actually these 1 vehicles are the ground that nurtures, that cultivate the seeds. So this Mahayana, the 1 vehicle, is not the seeds. Okay, it's the essence, it's the foundations of the true reality that can nurture all the seeds to grow. So this idea is that Prince Śrīmālā said that abiding in the Mahayana and embracing the Mahayana is also abiding the 2 vehicles and embracing the 2 vehicles, as well as all the mundane and super mundane virtues. So in other words, that the Mahayana, the 1 vehicles, it is the essence of all the vehicles. And it tried to tell us that it's not like this is 2 vehicles and this is Mahayana, like 2 separate things, or the lower is the 2 vehicles and on top of that there is 1 vehicle. It's not like that. It's on the other hand, that the Mahayana, the 1 vehicle, are the ground to support all the seeds of all seeds from all different vehicles or different virtues to grow and nurture. So if we want to embrace the true Dharma, if we want to attain the Mahayana, attain the 1 vehicles, you cannot avoid 2 vehicles or avoid something else. You cannot avoid anything because it is everything. And also it is everything, and yet it is not everything. It's the essence, it's the ground that can nurture everything. So this is the idea of Mahayana, or the 1 vehicle. So oftentimes we talk about 2 vehicles, Sravaka vehicles, the Pratyeka Buddha vehicles, and Mahayana vehicle. It seems like 3 vehicles. And then we compare, some of the vehicle are lower and Mahayana is higher. It's not like that. Okay, so the Mahayana vehicle, the Mahayana, the 1 vehicles embrace everything and nurtures everything. So it talk about the essence of the true reality and it's not the seed to sprout out into something, but it nurtures and cultivate, has the power, energy to cultivate and nurtures all the seeds and all the virtues. And that's the correct view of the one vehicle, and the correct view of the Mahayana, and the correct view of embracing the true Dharma. And there are 6 topics for the Mahayana. Okay, so here Queen Śrīmālā explained that there are 6 topics for the Mahayana. The first 2 is the abiding of the true Dharma and the perishing of the true Dharma. And second pair is the pratikmocha and the vinaya. And the third pair is leaving home and receiving the full ordination. So these are the main six topics that are in the Mahayana teachings. And these 6 topics, actually the core, the keys is the pratikmocha and the vinaya. So if we claim that this is the age of the abiding age of the true Dharma, means that the pratikmocha and the vinaya are upholding, okay, by the people who leave home and receive the full ordination. If we define that the perishing of the true Dharma means that nobody uphold the pratikmocha and the vinaya, and 2 cases. One case is nobody leave home, nobody receive the full ordination, or the home leaver who received the full ordination does not uphold the pratikmocha and the vinaya. Then that's what we call the perishing of the true Dharma. So the key, the 6 topics for the Mahayana, among the 6 topics of the Mahayana, the pratikmocha and the vinaya are the core teachings. So what is vinaya? So vinaya is the divisions of Buddhist canon, the Tripitaka. So there are 3 Tripitaka, and the vinaya is one of them. It contains the rules and procedures that govern the Buddhist monastic community or Sangha. So nowadays, there are 3 parallel Vinaya traditions remain in use by modern monastic community. So the first is the Theravada. Now is transmitted in the Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia regions, and upholded by the Theravada tradition. And the second is called Mula Savastivada. Okay, these Vinaya traditions is upheld by the Tibetan traditions or Himalayan traditions. And the third one is Dhamma-guptaka traditions that many uphold it in East Asia Buddhist community. So due to these 3 Vinaya traditions, right now, I think the bhikkhu has no problem, no matter which one you uphold it, because they are kind of, they overlap the major precepts, and yet there are some of the precepts that are different between these 3 traditions. And right now, the very hot topics for nuns ordinations for the Theravada tradition and the Tibetan traditions are due to the lineage of these 2 Vinaya traditions by the Theravada and the Mula Sarvastivada are were disconnected in history. So for nuns, so right now, very few, there's no nuns that uphold the no Theravada nuns or Tibetan nuns that carry this their respective Vinaya traditions. And so some of the nuns take the Dhammaguptaka Vinaya, the 4 ordinations from the East Asia. And now the Theravada community and the Tibetan community are trying to figure out how to transmit the 4 ordination to their nuns. Okay, so just so you know that this issues is in the right now, and why this is an issue, because the Vinaya traditions are different, but the core idea and the core concepts are the same. And the pratikmoksha, that means prati means towards, and moksha means liberations from cyclic existence, samsara. So pratikmoksha, it is a more detailed list of rules, more subtle rules, detailed rules that contain within the Vinaya that governing the behavior of Buddhist monastics, including monks and nuns. And the basic ideas for the pratikmoksha is to tell the monks and nuns how to purify thoughts, how to solve conflicts and deal with various situations which can happen in the Sangha. It's not playing music, it's a siren from the police car or ambulance car. Okay. Okay, so what happened? Sit up. Okay, can you still hear me? All right. All right, so the evaluation index for the Mahayana is actually the pratikmoksha and the Vinaya. So, like I said, that how to evaluate that it's the age of abiding the true Dharma, or the age of perishing of the true Dharma depends on that is anyone or any pratikmoksha or the Vinaya upheld by Lip Homer, who received the 4 ordination. So when Buddha, the Shakyamuni Buddha, that is entering the nirvana, but before he passed away, that Ananda asked Buddha, he was crying and asked Buddha, you are our original teacher, and then now you are leaving us, then who we should follow? It's the same question for all of us, that we follow a good teacher, but after the teacher passed away, then who should we follow, after that? And Buddha told Ananda, take the precepts as your teacher. Okay, so the precepts has all the spirits of the precept has all the spirits of Vinaya, Samadhi, and wisdom. So take the precepts as your teacher and continue your practice, and follow the path of the Nirvana. And so here, all the Mahayana practitioners need to think highly of the pratikmoksha and the Vinaya and practice that in the daily life. And for lay people, we still have precepts, 5 precepts, 8 precepts, Bodhisattva precepts to follow. And for the fully ordained monks and nuns, we have a whole list of the Patimokkha and Vinaya to follow, even though we cannot follow all the details, because some of the so-called minor precepts are set up according to the living condition at that age. Now we are in the modern world, so some of the minor precepts are not as practical anymore. For example, in the ancient Buddha's age, the monastic are not allowed to carry money. But right now, we carry, not only we carry cash, we have credit card, we have, metro card, we have, gift cards, all represent money that we can use. But in Buddha's age, that we are not allowed to have that. And right now we can use that, occasionally. And also, like in the Buddha's age, the nuns, for their safety purpose, we are not allowed to go alone by ourselves to the city, or to take, to drive or to take planes. We cannot sit next to the men, nuns cannot sit next to men. But right now we try, always ask for changing the seats that we cannot, we can avoid sitting next to men, but sometimes it's really hard, since the airplane is always full. So it's really hard for us to follow those the Patimokkha, the rules, but we keep that in mind. If we can do it, then we do it. But if we cannot, we just living in the modern world, that we have to fit into the living style in this modern world. But the main precepts that are the must for all the Vihomers who receive the full ordination to follow. For example, no killing, no lying, follow the pure actions, no sexual misconduct, the celibacy. All these are the main precepts that we need to follow. Okay, next is, what is the ultimate? Who get the ultimate? Who attain the ultimate nirvana? So here, Queen Śrīmālā point out that Tathagata is the ultimate, that conclude the three vehicles. Now, it's more, one of the debating part is that in Śrīmālā Sutras, Queen Śrīmālā mentioned and recognized by the Buddha, saying that the Arhats and Pratyeka Buddhas still be afraid. Okay, they still have fears. Why is that? Because the Arhat and Pratyeka Buddhas still take refuge in Tathagata, because they still have fear. And so they still take refuge in the Buddha, and also they still need to receive the full ordination. And second is the Arhat and the Pratyeka Buddha are afraid of, the apranihita, the patience of wishlessness. I try to find a better translation. This apranihita, for Chinese called 无作 or 无形, is a very important topic in Diamond Sutra, in the three the topics on the three liberations. And so because they are afraid of that, so they cannot obtain the ultimate happiness from nirvana. And the sutra give an example, as you know, that the Sravaka and practice the so-called reflections on repulsiveness, and to develop, not just develop mindfulness and concentration, they need to overcome desire and lust through this practice, and to generate this called samavika nibbana. Okay, this is a Sanskrit or a Pali terms, and that means the oppressive sense of shock and dismay and the spiritual urgency to reach liberation and escape the suffering of samsara. And this is, I'm not going to talk about this, how to do this meditation, but usually the Saravaka practitioners, they practice this and they generate an urgency that they try to escape. They want to give up or cut off the existence of body and mind, so they will not receive this suffering anymore in the samsara, and so they can reach the liberation. From Mahayana perspective, this is a fear. You don't want this and you want that. That means you fear something and you escape that things, try to go to the other shore that has no the things you don't like. Okay, so Prince Śrīmālā continued that only the Tathagata attain the ultimate nirvana, because they accomplished all virtues and merits, all the virtues and the merits, all the capability or the functions of the Tathagata Gabra, and they accomplish immeasurable virtues. That means from each of any virtues and merits that they accomplish from the first item, they can generate unlimitedly from that, and to help all the sentient beings. And the third one is what they accomplish is inconceivable. It's not what we can perceive. What kind of virtue is that? That represent all, and that can manifest in the unlimited way, and to help all the sentient beings. So this kind of merits is not conceivable by the mundane sentient beings. And so this kind of pure virtues is unsurpassable. And the conclusion is that only the Tathagata, the Buddha, can achieve the ultimate nirvana. And the Buddha's name is called Tathagata Arhat Samyam Sambuddhas. Okay, so it's different from the Arhat only. Arhat represent the attainer or the enlightened ones from the Saravaka vehicle, but here is Tathagata Arhat Samyam Sambuddhas that can attain the nirvana. So what is Anuttara Samyam Sambuddha? Anuttara is called a spring, the highest. Samyak means the correct, the true, the accurate and perfect. Okay, and Sambodhi means enlightenment, awakening, and perfect wisdom. So I think the most important things that I need to point out is that this perfect enlightenment is unsurpassable. Okay, so now, why Queen Śrīmālā said that the two vehicles are not ultimate. There are two main points. One from the life and death perspective, The others is from the cutting of the kleshas perspective. So let's talk about the two kinds of life and death first. And the first kind of life and death is called discontinuous life and death, or in Sanskrit terms called pratisamadhi, connection. But this connection is not contradict with what we call the discontinuous life and death. Okay, the connection means your karma, your seeds are connected, life after life. But your life and death seems to be discontinued because there is a process of so-called the reverse process. And this process seems to have a beginning and an end. Okay, so once we see things has a beginning and an end, this is called discontinuous life and death. There's a start, there's an end. And this kind of life is called discontinuous life and death. And that happened to illusory ordinary sentient beings. And from the sutra, describe the rebirth, the process of rebirth. It needs three elements. One is warmth from the fire element. The other is life force from our karma, and the vijnana, consciousness. That three of them need to come together in order for any sentient being to have rebirth. Okay, and if any of them start to disappear, and then three of them will disappear, and that's called death. Okay, so this process that can further explain if we use the origin of experience, or the 12 links of dependent origination. As you can see that, that I colored, Vijnana means consciousness, and the Namarupa means the name and form. And this is the key steps for rebirth. And yet, once we have the rebirth, and then we go through all the life process, and then we have rebirth, we have the karma to rebirth again, and then goes through aging and death again. And now the consciousness that grasp the mind and the form is the process of the rebirth. And there is a subtle mechanism that how the vijnana, the consciousness, grasp or make the namarupa, the mind and form, to articulate. Okay, so the second part, the one is continuous life and death. The other is called inconceivable transformative life and death. These are the mind-made bodies, or manomaya kaya, of arhats, pratyeka Buddhas, and bodhisattvas, great beings who have attained power until they reach the ultimate supreme enlightenment, and then they do not have the mind-made bodies anymore. Okay, so here, in order to explain what is inconceivable transformative life and death, we need to explain two kinds of mind-made bodies. Okay, one is by ordinary people. Ordinary people still have mind-made bodies, but that is different from the one that Arhat, Pratyeka Buddha, and Bodhisattva has. So what is the mind-made Buddhas? Mind-made bodies. So this again is the the 12 link of dependent origination. So like I said, the Vijnana grasped Namarupa. And then the life force, the karma that has the next life exist and then give birth. We get rebirth. And this Vijnana grasped Namarupa process is like this. First, we have Kamaja Kaya. Okay, sorry about all the terms, but this is a very good concept that we need to know, because this process is a very important process in the sutra and in practice. How the mind form physical world, okay, or grasps the physical world to make it articulate. So from the karma, then we have a kamaja kaya. This is the mind that they will generate the chittaja kaya. Okay, so they come after immediately. And when these two form, and it produces very fine rupa, very fine, subtle material form. Okay, not it's very subtle and almost get to, if we talk about the physics, the nuclear, the content, the composition of the nuclear, and it goes to the quark, right? And go further. It's very, when this kamaja kaya and chitta jakaya come to form, and this will produce that very fine rupa. And then next, they immediately generate the so-called utuja kaya, okay, a very light physical form that depends on either the seasons or the conditions, or the physical conditions, or the physical environment. So these three parts in purple, okay, are the very key elements, what we call, the mind-made bodies has these three parts. That's the process and mechanisms that how the consciousness, the mind, grasp the namarupa. And this is ordinary people's mind-made bodies, and it's not the Sravaka, Pratyeka Buddha, or Bodhisattva's mind-made body. Okay, so in this Mahasamanipata Sutra, okay, the collection of the Mahayana Sutra, there is a statement saying that the extinction, how does the Bodhisattva perform his practice of a Bodhisattva after having obtained the sameness of extinction? It's, the extinction is the pacification of all vices and the allowing of every feeling, the pacification of all object, and here, no connections with the parts of personality, realm of fields, so on and so forth. And that here is called a prati-samadhi. Okay, so it's different from the this discontinuous prati-samadhi. Okay, so in other words, that when the two vehicles or bodhisattva get to the very high liberation or the attainments, they have the power to manipulate their mind and to perform whatever they want, manifest as whatever they want. Okay, and we ordinary people, our man-made bodies are driven by our karma. Okay, so now here, even though that the liberation of the Arhats and Pratyeka Buddhas has already transcended the discontinuous life and death, but they did not reach to the inconceivable transformative life and death yet. And this is only attained by the Buddha. And the reason why the two vehicles are not ultimate, and this first part is they defined it, the liberation, by the cutoff of the discontinuous life and death. Okay, so here we often hear about this, like Arhat will claim that only the statement, okay, in the middle, that Arhat always claim that my rebirths are exhausted, the pure life is achieved, all tasks are done, there's no more existence beyond. Okay, so they stop, terminate all the existence of body and mind after this life. That's their achievement. No more vexation, no more samsara. Okay, so the first part, my rebirths are exhausted, is the wisdom to cease the causes of suffering. And the pure life means they have the wisdom to cultivate the path. And then third, all tasks are done because they have the wisdom of the extinction, attend the extinction of suffering. And there's no more existence beyond because they cut off the suffering altogether. And that's called, on your left is called the full wisdom of the Arhat. And why, the reason that Śrīmālā respond to the statement and claiming that they are not ultimate is on your right, because they only they judge the rebirth only by transcending the discontinuous life and death only. And what they realize, the fruit they realized is with still has remainder. And they only cease, the so-called cease all suffering and vexation are illusory. This is not the ultimate. They did not cut off all the suffering and vexations. And the reason that they claim that they cut off the suffering is based on they cut off the 12 links of dependent origination. Okay, and these reasons, Śrīmālā say, no, there are still klesha, the vexations that cannot be cut off by Arhat and Pratyeka Buddha. Their vexations are not exhausted yet, neither their rebirth. They are still reminder. And this is another very important concept that are frequently cited by all the sutra and sastra, is about the so-called how we categorize our klesha, the afflictions. Okay, so we have different traditions, Buddhist traditions, and from each traditions, there is called the path to liberation. And this path to liberation need method to help us go up and let go more and more vexation until we cut off all the vexation and achieve the Buddhahood or achieve the highest liberations. And so the difference is between each traditions are the definition or the categorization of the vexation, the klesha. Okay, so here in Śrīmālā Sutras, the first the kleshas are divided into two categories. One is called abiding klesha, and the other is called appeared klesha. So abiding klesha is anusaya. Okay, so it's underlying tendency. It's a latent tendency. In other words, it's abiding there. It doesn't need to be, activated or manifested, but the seeds is there. The seed is always there. And so the explanation there are unwholesome mental factors that lie along with the mental process to which they belong, rising to the surface as obsessions whenever they meet with the suitable conditions. So that means these vexations, afflictions abide there, that without activation, they're still there. But once the conditions ripe, and it will resonate to the afflictions that appear, the afflictions show up. It's called appear klesha. And for example, you have some of the seeds, you have some desire seed there, and when something happens, some people, because for example, I like my child, and when your child get a straight A, you're happy, right? And when you OC, then you're not happy, and it's all because your desire, your love to your children. Okay, that's abiding. It doesn't need to show up anytime, but the love is still there. The love is always there, but only when things happen, you react differently, and you react with different emotion. That's called appear afflictions. So, and it was explained like, okay, being occupied with particular views. And it's a state of possessions, and more particularly compound with, like come with anger or desire, some things. So and another translation for this is called manifested active afflictions. So here we need to know that our affliction has two kinds. One is a tendency, doesn't need to show up. It's a tendency, it's a seed. And there is appeared afflictions that resonate with conditions. And it's easy that we try to subdue our appear afflictions, but it's hard to be aware of our abiding afflictions. Sometimes you need to enter into very deep samadhi in order to notice that and cut it off. So in Śrīmālā Sutra, there are 5 kinds. Instead of 4 kinds, there are 5 kinds of abiding afflictions. The first kind is called abiding affliction in a particular viewpoint. For example, you might aroused from the 5 views. The related appeared afflictions are to the abiding affliction in a particular viewpoint is, for example, you have affliction aroused from the 5 views, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. These are the frequently talk about 5 views that influence that it affected our decision, affected our emotions. And so these are for the ordinary people, we all have this problem. And the second is called the abiding afflictions in attraction to desire. So if you can, and the related afflictions in the desire realm, and that's, we are in the desire realm. If we can cut off these abiding afflictions in the second item, then we, transcend the desire realm. And the third is the abiding afflictions in attraction to the form, and these related afflictions in the form realms. If transcendent, then we go to transcending the form realm, and likewise, if we can transcend the abiding afflictions in attraction to existence and overcome the afflictions in the formless realm, then we transcend the formless realm. And the most important part is Queen Śrīmālā pointed out the fifth abiding affliction is called the abiding afflictions in ignorance. And there are correspondent afflictions that arise from ignorance. So this abiding of ignorance, there's a Sanskrit term, you can check it out, is not here, very important. It's not corresponding to the mind. So it's impossible for us to notice it, to realize it, and to cut it off with the conscious mind, okay? And it cannot be seized by the knowledge of the Sravaka and the Pratyeka Buddhas. It can only be seized by the enlightened wisdom of the Tathagata. The abiding of ignorance is the most dominant afflictions that we don't realize, and we don't know how to cut it off. So that's the main arguments, of the main points from Queen Śrīmālā that approved by the Buddha, that why the two vehicles cannot attain the ultimate liberation, because they still have the abiding afflictions of ignorance that they never know. Okay, so the Arhat and Pratyeka Buddhas can eliminate the first four abiding afflictions, and they cannot eliminate the fifth one. So here, like I say, that different schools, different traditions defined or categorize afflictions in a different way in order to help the practitioners to follow the practice and to cut off the afflictions. And I give you an example. There are many examples, and that we can compare with the afflictions that are mentioned here in the Śrīmālā Sutra. For example, in the Tiantai systems, all the first four parts of abiding affliction and appear afflictions belongs to the affliction from views and perceptions in the three realms. And the appear afflictions aroused from ignorance belongs to the affliction from myriad duties in saving sentient beings. Okay, that is beyond the three realms. And the fundamental abiding afflictions in ignorance belongs to the affliction from ignorance beyond the three realms in Tiantai school. So the Tiantai method in these three categories that corresponded to Śrīmālā Sutra, and so Tiantai also say that the two vehicles are not ultimate as well, because they're after the liberation from the discontinuous life and death. there is a gap from that part to Buddhahood, to Tathagata, that parts that true vehicles practitioners does not know. They do not know, what are they, and how to cut it off, and so they cannot. So the attainment that Sravaka and Pratyeka Buddha and the Bodhisattva attains still have the friction with remainder, and that remainder make the attainment of their liberation, purity, and virtues that is not ultimate. And so, and the follow-up is that the so-called the Four Noble Truths, the suffering, the cause of suffering, the extinction of suffering, and the past are not ultimate, still have remainder. And so in Śrīmālā Sutra, they call the attainment of the two vehicles, what they attain is partial nirvana, or moving toward the nirvana. Okay. Now I have to go quickly. Okay, now good. So in for these sections, Śrīmālā, there are still a lot of content, okay, in the sutra itself, and there are so many things to talk about and to compare with other traditions that the Śrīmālā Sutra provide. And I think it's very informative and very meaningful for all the practitioners to understand. And so that, when we follow the Mahayana path, when we try to, reach the ultimate goal, we will have the right view, to have the right enlightenment, not grasp about, this and that, and try to find the true Dharma, the true reality, and the one vehicle, which is the Tathagata and Dhammakaya. Okay, that is the topic for the next week. And so here, Queen Śrīmālā concludes that if one realizes the one vehicle, one attains Anuttara Samyasambodhi. And the Anuttara Samyasambodhi is the Nirvana realm. And the Nirvana realm is the Dhammakaya of the Tathagata. So now, today we talk about, the core teaching of the Mahayana. The one vehicle is the 6 topics, right? And the key topic is about Vinaya and the Paticmokkha, the precept part. And then the second point is to talk about what is so-called ultimate Nibbana by the Tathagata, and what the two vehicle attain is not the ultimate Nirvana, it's partial Nirvana. And the third part is, the reason is that they still have affliction, the abiding afflictions in ignorance that they don't know about. And we talk about the two types of life and death, and how our conscious mind grasp the Namarupa, and what is man-made body is, what is the difference between ordinary people's man-made bodies and the vehicles man-made bodies, and what is the ultimate incomprehensible man-made life and death. Okay, and now we narrow down to the Nirvana, the Samyasambodhi from one vehicle to Anuttara Samyal Sambodhi to Nibbana. And next is use the Dhammakaya of the Tathagata to explain what is Nirvana, what is Anuttara Samyal Sambodhi, and what is one vehicle, the Mahayana. And that's the next week's topics. Okay, finish. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Fashi, for the wonderful.
Sorry, too much terminology.
Go first.
Okay. Right.
Shall we open up opportunity for everyone for asking questions?
Yes, if you do, if I can ask, answer.
Pusas, if you have any questions, please raise your hands or you can type in the chat box. Thank you.
Michael. Unmute.
Yeah. Thank you, Fashi. Thank you, Fashi, to teaching. Just according to your teaching, as we know, we just in our common concept, we always know if you are out of the three realms, maybe you could get the liberation. But according to your teaching, if you out of the three realms, but you still have the ignorance. So if we compare to our meditation, we say we have several levels from the scattered mind to the focused mind to the unified mind to the no self. So if we compare to the four level, so the no ignore, if we still have the ignorance, is it just is it on the condition? Does this kind of condition belong to one unified mind? Could we just understand like this?
No, from my understanding, the two vehicles, you still attain the emptiness, you still attain the no self, okay? But this liberation does not represent, totally represent the so-called Buddhahood or Tathagata. This is a very good question because the following talks and Queen Śrīmālā will continue to talk about not just Dhammakaya and the Tathagata view. Also, they talk about the so-called emptiness. What is the true right view, true views of emptiness? The emptiness, the so-called the emptiness of the Tathagata with emptiness and the Tathagata with non-emptiness. Okay, 空如来藏跟不空如来藏. So I think what the Raka practitioners are missing is the 不空如来藏, the Tathagata of non-emptiness. So there are more principles or to support the idea that why practitioner transcend the three realms. They still have the liberation of the three realms, but from that liberation to Buddhahood, there is still a gap. If you don't cut off that fundamental abiding afflictions in ignorance, it's impossible for you to have the all virtues and merits and immeasurable merits of the Tathagata of non-emptiness. Yeah, you got that point. Or I cannot explain it. Probably you wait until the talk later, I think the next talk or the talk next, and the next talk I will talk about it. And when I talk about the Tathagata, and hopefully you can find your answer. Okay. Michael, thank you for your question. Miranda, to unmute. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello, Amitofu. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, fantastic. Thank you very much for this talk. My baby Dharma brain is trying to sort this out. And what I would like to find out is with the abiding klesha and the appear klesha slide,
Mm-hmm.
I am trying to figure this out and match this with the Vairochana, with the 6 consciousness, 7 consciousness, and 8 consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
How would this fit with the consciousness? Like, say, I'm trying to figure out how I could apply this in my daily life. And the first thing that I could see that I could connect with is having influence on the 6 consciousness, 7 consciousness, and 8 consciousness. Could you give guidance as to whether I'm on the right track or I'm totally off, or this is for another talk some other day?
Well, definitely it can be another talk, but the appeared afflictions, it's more belongs to the mental factors, 51 mental factors. And the abiding afflictions, more like a seeds, like a seeds, and it will be in the 8th consciousness. And yet, the 7th the attachment of 7th consciousness will restrict our the view that we can see for each levels of abiding afflictions. For example, if you are in the desire realm, probably through very strong practice, you probably can cut off the appear afflictions in the desire realm, and then probably can cut off the abiding afflictions in attraction to desire, for example, the 2nd levels. And so through the practice, of course, by the practice on the 6th consciousness, that we can detach the attachment of the 7th consciousness and clean the 8th consciousness. And so the abiding afflictions belongs to 8th consciousness. And yet, it's so Tian Tai School's categorization, you can see that through different levels of practice or attainment, you can, kind of cut off or seize different levels of affliction, either abiding or appeared. And I would say, I think there are some sastras that talk about this. If I remember correctly, abiding kleshas always belongs to the 8th consciousness, and the appear afflictions belongs to the mental factors, because it needs conditions for them to manifest. And the abiding afflictions just there. It's always there. It doesn't need condition, but it doesn't mean that they are not there. Just like I say, for example, you love your child, love is always there. But when nothing happened, when they don't need help, but there is no birthday, there is not something happened to your kids, and then you don't react, right? And the kids will think that you don't love them, but you love them, right? But only when they have a difficulties or things happen, and then you do something, they feel your love. Even you hug them, they feel your love. But when you are not hugging them, doesn't mean that you don't love them. The love is still there. It's called abiding. And appear is when it would happen when the conditions arise. Make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I still have a long way to practice. Now I shall continue to attend your lectures. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question.
Amitabha,
Okay.
thank you.
Amitabha. All right. We will have the music and mind this afternoon, in person and online, so by Dr. Joanne Zhang. So we need to stop here, and I encourage you, I can encourage myself too, that the next talk we will continue to explain further, and hope that you can learn more from that. And I myself learned a lot from this sutra.